Hello, good evening, leaders, and welcome to yet another broadcast from the Executive Network. We intend to continue on our previous session, which we started last week, where we started to talk about writing our personal vision statement, or if you like, writing our mission statement. And somehow it's impressed on my mind to do something like a brief recap, but then add a few other sessions to what we did last week just to give it some flesh so that we can really do justice to the discussion. And as a matter of fact, I would like us to see this as yet another workshop rather than just a webinar. A workshop is intended to facilitate participation and to also get the audience busy so that they can actively create outputs that they can refer to once the session is done with. So we're going to go on with this session, but just for people who are joining us for the first time, we'd like to say a very warm welcome to you, and we are convinced that you are definitely on the right platform, and this is yet another step in your continuous advancement of your personal leadership. So we welcome you and we congratulate your decision, your effort to join us to be part of this broadcast. Well, other leaders are also online as we speak. So if you would like to, you can take a minute to say hello to every one of them. If you want to do that, there is a session or a section to the right-hand corner of your screen. And on that side, you'll see a chat button, which you can use to communicate some of your greetings, or if you want to make a statement or give some kind of feedback or input, you can do that through that chat facility, and we'll be picking those up. Other leaders will be seeing that and responding to you in kind. So we welcome you to do that. Right. As we progress on this, we're hoping that the output of this whole process will be some effort towards writing a script that you will call your own. And I'm quite aware that there are a few of our leaders who have been putting some effort into creating their own personal mission statement or vision statement. So we encourage you to perhaps use this time as a time of review so that you can look at what might need to be done to create maybe a version 2 of what you have already. As a matter of fact, you have to see your personal purpose plan or your personal mission statement or vision statement as a living document. It's alive. And if it's alive, it has to grow. There will be some additions or deletions or updating from time to time. So just see this as, I hope you see this as that extra input into taking it a step further. All right, so in the course of this, I might be talking just briefly about the things we mentioned last week. So when I get there, I won't spend so much time on it. We'll do just for mentioning, especially for those who are joining us for the first time in this particular series, so that we can then make progress as much as possible. All right, just as a recap, the objectives of this particular session are very clear. Number one, we want to move from haphazard living to effective living. Let me say something about that. Most of the time, it tends to happen that most people come back from maybe their day job, and all they can really do afterwards is just to prepare dinner and then sit down to catch up with the news of the day, and then afterwards go to bed. And that perhaps becomes a routine, and it just, so you find that maybe about 4 hours thereabout is put into that. Well, we want to see what we can do as an extra input into those 4 hours. And then another thing we want to look at is how to actually eliminate procrastination and time wasting. Some of us already know what we ought to be doing. We know what the vision of our life is, but somehow we're not really getting to it for any reason. So we're looking at how to go from a vision that you have in the heart to a vision that we are working out with our hands. Another reason is to understand the reason for the time that we're actually given. It's commonly said that everyone is given 24 hours, 24 golden boxes in a day. And what each of us do with those 24 golden boxes is actually the outcomes of our lives. So we want to look at, all right, what is actually the reason of my time and my life? Then we want to go now to the meat of this, which is to write our personal purpose statement, our personal mission statement, and our personal vision statement. But not just that, whatever we do in this session is just going to be more like an introduction into this whole process. I need to say that writing a vision statement or mission statement will sometimes is something that would take time. So my charge to us is that we should be ready to put in that sacrifice of time to do this. It might take weeks, it might take months, but when this is done, I can guarantee you, suddenly life takes a new meaning, and there's a sense of direction that life takes on. Okay, then we want to look at clear-cut goals and objectives for life, and to develop an effective plan for accomplishing life's purpose and vision. A vision is just a vision until it has a plan of accomplishment. It remains just that. And then, of course, we want to look at the character to protect life's purpose and vision. Right, I've got a few references there. I added to what I had last week. One of those is the Principles and Power Vision, Keys to Achieving Personal and Corporate Destiny by Dr. Miles Monroe. And then I've got a workbook that was done based on that text. And that study guide is something I would really recommend that we lay our hands on if we can. So if you can take the titles, try and look on Amazon or other libraries and see if you can get that material. Then there's this popular book which is 26 years old this year, a book by the revered Stephen R. Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. So I would encourage us to lay our hands on that book. The book is very practical and something that I'm sure will be very helpful. Then there's another sequel to that, which is How to Develop Your Personal Mission Statement. That is a book you want to get. So do your very best if you can to get that book. And then there's Strategic Thinking, a framework for individual executives to elevate business. So what we are doing in this process is something that really affects personal lives, as well as also has the capacity to shape our corporate existence. So if whatever you do in your day-to-day job, you can use this as a way of adding tremendous value to organizations. And I'm telling you, if you're able to capture this properly, you'll become an asset to your organization. They would not want to let you go. So please make this investment, and not just your organization, even your city will begin to look for you. All right. I spoke about the fact that our lives are timed, and so I'm not going to spend so much time on this. I'm just going to go through, and I'm going to go to the meat of this, which is that because we are under the sun, we know that there's time to our lives, and we did not come here by choice. We came here on assignment. We came here by assignment, and that assignment has a time, and the fact that we are alive is proof that that assignment is for this time. So let's keep that in mind, and the bottom line of that is there's time for every purpose, including your own purpose. So let's keep that in mind as we progress through this. So, and of course, we spoke about the fact that it is actually vision that makes the leader a leader. So vision, it's actually impossible unless we've really come to terms with the purpose of our lives, and that once we found that vision, the vision is like a vehicle that needs fuel, and the fuel of that vision is passion. Passion comes because we are truly convinced about the vision that we see and the purpose of our lives. And of course, we cannot go on a mission if we don't see an end. If we don't have a destination, every journey becomes meaningless. So the journey, which is the mission, is something that is initiated because of a destination that one is intended to go to. Okay. Now, life, therefore, has no meaning without purpose. So that's something that these are just like preambles. They're like things that we lay, just the backgrounds I want to lay before we go on into this discussion. Then, of course, we spoke about just some destinations. The fact that purpose is the destination, is predetermined, and is permanent. So if you are going to your workplace, say tomorrow morning, and somehow there is some roadwork as you step out of the house, now you may have to do a detour and go through another route, but your office address is still static, is permanent. You will get there, but you may have to take a few other routes until you get there. As a matter of fact, I read a story this week that when pilots are, moving from one point to another, most of the time, the plane, or the aircraft actually misses a whole lot of its trajectory, but the pilot keeps steering the plane back to the path, and most of the time, in fact, for over 80% of the time, the plane actually moves out of the set trajectory, but in the end, it gets to the airport that is intended to land in. So that's what I'm saying about purpose, about being a fixed destination, that regardless of what happens, your destination is fixed. And of course, your vision is when you begin to now see that purpose in pictures. Mission is the journey to the destination. Passion, like I said earlier on, is the fuel for the journey. And values are pretty much the insurance that makes sure that the destination is arrived at. Now, that's not enough. You may be a good person, but a good person who's going nowhere, who's got no plan, is just really, well, I don't want to use any harsh words, but it's just a good person who's got no direction. So that goodness, which is worth so much, needs to be needs to be channeled in a direction through a plan of action. Okay, then of course the goals that we set are like the markers, the landmarks on our way to know that we're on course. And of course, whatever God gives to you, you cannot do all by yourself. You need a team to work with you to arrive at the destination. So that's why we say that your team is your traveling companion. Okay, so whatever you are meant to do, you need people to do that with you. So, and that's something like a call to action. Begin to look at what is the mode of people that can work with me to deliver this mission. As a matter of fact, that was something I'll throw in very quickly, that there are people who have what they call catalytic visions. What does that mean? A catalytic vision is a vision that activates the vision of other people. I'll give an example. Back in the day, centuries ago, as a matter of fact, millennia ago, there was this man called Moses, and he had a catalytic vision to lead a whole country, but he could not speak. And it so happened that somebody in his family could do the talking. So the catalytic vision of Moses activated the vision of his brother. Now, what is the use of all that Moses was asked to do if it could not be put into clearly articulated speech? So, therefore, the vision, the catalytic vision, does not cancel and does not superimpose on any other vision. It's just that every vision has its place has its particular delivery or deliverables. So that's just something to note about catalytic visions. And it might should be that the vision that God has given you is such a catalytic vision. It might be that I am just one of the people to put in one thing or the other to make sure that that big picture is accomplished. That's why we need a team. And of course, we spoke about writing, so I won't beat that again. But writing is essential. The best ideas are sometimes, in fact, all of the time, lost when they are not written down. So don't trust your memory that much. Write it down so that you can keep it, not just for yourself, but for your grandchildren. Your grandchildren need to see all the beautiful poetry that has ever come through your mind. So please write them down. Write all your ideas down. As a matter of fact, you need to translate your vision into clearly written down statements and plan of action so that people can understand what they will do when they come around you. Of course, we talk about being proactive, which is the fact that you need to be in the driving seat of your life. Most people tend to delegate their life over to other people, but everyone must be the architect of the program of their lives. If anything at all, you can delegate to God, that's fine, but not into the hand of any other man, because that man himself has his own program to write. So write your own program, write your own script. As a matter of fact, we spoke about questioning yourself, because that's when true answers are delivered. And we will say that most of what we're going to be talking about going forward is about questioning. It's about really questioning oneself, not someone else questioning you. Interview yourself. So, and of course, we talked about the fact that you need alone time. You need time by yourself. You need to enjoy your own company. You need to go to a party with yourself, because that is when true real answers are derived. So please pay attention to all of these things, and I reckon that the divine ability in you will be coming out. And we did say that that ability is right inside of you, but you need to respond to it, because unless you do, it's just there. Ability is just potential. It's like a battery that has so much power to power a whole vehicle, to power a SUV, but it's never used, it's never activated. So what we're saying is you have a divine ability in you, and you have to respond to it. Unless you do, I remember reading one of the books of Ben Carson, that famous neurosurgeon, and it did say that most of the time when he's about to go into surgery and the chances are so slim, maybe 50-50, he always asks himself, what will happen if we do not try? The outcome is inevitable. This patient will lose his or her life. So he says, well, if we try, at least we give ourselves 50% chance of success. So, and that's why we have to respond to what we are capable of doing. As a matter of fact, let me put this in. Your ability should be equal to your responsibility. Your ability should be equal to your responsibility. In other words, if you notice an ability inside of you, you have to create a plan of response to that ability. That ability is a gift that is not really for you. It's a gift that is for the rest of the world. And unless they see that gift being delivered to them, you have somehow shortchanged the people that could be blessed by it. So respond to it. Change will happen, like we said, but it's better when you are in driving seat of change. So decide to be the agent of change, the creator of change, the instigator of change. Now, well, we can borrow a book from someone, but I think it's always better to buy your own. When you buy your own book, you can mark it, you can write on it, you can scribble on it, you can make the impressions that come to your heart on that book, but you may not be able to do that on someone else's book. So, create your own library. Create your own library. Don't just inherit one. So, and now I also say that it's better to make a mistake than to never act. It's better to make a mistake than to never act. So, of course, it's good to take care, but I'd rather have someone who says, I've tried this and I made a mistake, than someone who said, well, I just don't want to try because I'm afraid. So act. So And my question is this: who is creating your realities? Whoever wrote your script is creating your reality. Whoever wrote a program for you is determining your realities. So keep an eye on that. You have a pen, you have the ability to write. So take a piece of paper, take a pen. As a matter of fact, you can even get one as we speak and begin to write. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what the voice that comes after what I've said, which is the voice that comes in from the recess of your own heart. And begin to write whatever you hear, write on paper. And of course, we know that everyone seems to have a destination, but it seems that only a few people know how to get there. And that's a constant challenge. Right. We did say something about beginning with the end in mind, which is every time you're traveling, you know that there's a destination you have gone through in your imagination. Sometimes people go to that destination on Google. Well, we are in a new world where we can go to places without even ever leaving our desk. So you can go to those places on Google Map, for example. So you have a mental image of where you're going, and then you begin to you rewind back to the beginning and now start the journey there. So that's why we say everything is created twice. It's a principle that we need to know. As a matter of fact, if you have never created something mentally, I would say it's risky to go on that journey. The architects do it. They do not sanction a building unless they first created the building in their mind and on paper. And you ought to do the same. Now, knowing where you're going is actually a prerequisite to knowing how to get there. So the what precedes the how, all the time, every time. The key to having a rewarding and productive life, therefore, is developing a specific plan to fulfill your personal life vision. It's the key to fulfilling your personal life vision. Now, discovering and implementing your personal vision is a process of learning. First, you can, well, put it in whatever order you think. Knowledge of God always culminates in knowledge of yourself. Why? You are His reflection. If I look in the mirror, I just see the person that is standing in front of it. So whatever you see in the mirror is exactly what is standing in front of it. Okay, so the knowledge and understanding of your personal life vision is unending. So you have a version 1, version 1.1, which eventually becomes version 2, and you keep writing version 10 and keep writing as long as there's life. So it will require fine-tuning all through life. And the vision you have written down is never, ever, ever a finished product. So still preambles. First thing first, we did say that in his heart, a man devises his way, but the Lord directs his path. And that unless you write down the vision that you see in your heart, God has nothing to do. He has nothing to direct. So I'll sound that loud again. Let's stop exactly where we are. Before you eat any meal, stop and really take a journey by yourself. I'm going to read a story shortly after now, and this story will bring the whole thing home. So we said a lot about this. The video is on YouTube. You can actually go on and read it again, but I'm just going through over this for the purpose of people who missed last week's session or who are just joining for the first time. So everyone has a plan, and only those who write theirs have something to go to. Now, mission, we said a lot about it last week. We really trashed it, but that's meant to create hunger to go ahead. I'm going to do something. And the key thing I want to bring out there is that, not just the definition, a written mission statement defines the purpose and justification for your existence, both personal and corporate. Okay, and it's answering that question. What is my assignment? What am I really going for? All right, this is fresh. This is new, and this is where I really want to go to today. I want us to look at the anatomy of a mission statement. What does it contain? What should we be looking out for when we're writing a mission statement? Number one, I want to say that a mission statement must be timeless. It must be something that we expect that will never change. In other words, once you write it, you think, wow, this should be all through life. But no, like, there's a caveat to that. It may indeed change, but you write it as if it will never change. In other words, you are looking as far as you can see. You are looking down and in fact, beyond the horizon that you see through your imagination. Your sight will make you see the horizon. Your imagination will take you beyond the horizon. So you are engaging deeply with yourself, writing something that is timeless. And what does that mean? You know, we need to understand that mission statements are not goals, because goals are specific, they're just situation driven. So, and then mission statements are actually rooted in principles that are unchanging. As a matter of fact, that is really the basis for writing things that are timeless, things that are rooted in principles that are unchanging by time and by location. Number two is that a mission statement should deal with the ends and the means. In other words, it deals with the destinations, the result, the outcomes, and also the process of achieving the end. So that means about the destination and how to get there. All of that should be clearly defined in the mission statement. I will encourage you, if you go to the corporate website of most organizations, maybe IBM or Mercedes-Benz or Jaguar Land Rover, Toyota, whatever it is, Shell, you see how they write their mission statement. That mission statement, most of the time, sounds philosophical, but it talks about what they intend to do, what their destination is, and how they intend to get there, the driving principles that will help them to get there. It's always contained in most vision statements that I've seen. So I'll encourage you to take a look. So now, the development of your purpose and vision statement are actually contained in your mission statement. Why? Because the vision statement does not just exist on its own. It's actually something that comes out of understanding the purpose, the reason why you are, and what you clearly see that you intend to achieve. And that the development of a set of principles that enables the actualization of the mission. Those principles, I can say that for, as many times as possible, because they are vital ingredients of the vision statement or the mission statement. Now, still on anatomy, the mission based on principles must deal with all the roles of life. Let me bring that down and to say what that exactly means. Now, let's say you are, most of us, we have a few roles that we have in life. Okay, you might be a brother to someone, a daughter or a son to someone. You might be a wife or a husband to someone. You might be a fiancé or a fiancée to someone. You might be somebody that works in the public. Maybe you're a policeman or you're an accountant. So you have a role to your organization. You might be an employee to a particular organization. So we have many roles. You're a sister to somebody or you're a brother to someone. So the mission statement we're talking about, because we are talking about something that encompasses all life. There's a man that I love and respect so much, a doctor in the city where I live. And he always talks about having a balanced spoke. Now, imagine that your car, you put it on the road, but the pressure on one tire is 20, the other one is 30, the other one is 40, and the other one is 10. You're going to have a bumpy ride all through that journey. So it's someone that advocates balance. So that's what we're talking about here, that the mission statement that we are writing actually deals with all the roles of life, because if one of them is left out, it's going to be an undulating journey, imbalance. All right. Now, so why do we want to have this? This prevents pretensions and multiplicity of personnel. That's why sometimes you find somebody who is very good in the public, but very bad at home. Why? His mission is skewed towards public performance and not something that is done at home. Or you might find somebody who is very bad in the workplace, but very good in church. His mission statement is skewed towards, it has a church bias. Dr. Covey wrote a lot about that. And eventually it went on to say that, look, how your principle, I mean, your mission, the mission of your life should be principle centered. Otherwise, there will be imbalance. And that's why you find people who have dual characters or dual personalities, because they have an imbalance. They have not written a mission statement that takes care of every role. So how do we do this? On your sheet of paper that you have, write every role that you currently fulfill and prepare to add a few ones that you will fulfill later on. For example, a time will come when you become a grandmother or a grandfather. Now, how do you handle grandchildren? How do you still maintain your relationship with your husband when you become a grandparent? When at that time, somehow, well, not deliberately, but your affection seems to be moving towards the grandchildren. How do you do that? Which is why you have to write something that encompasses all the roles that you currently undertake. So I would say write down the roles, each of them, as far as you can think about. Write all of them down and say, I am this, I do this, I do that across all the various roles. A mission also should deal with the 4 dimensions of life. You know, these things are very crucial. What do we remember at the 4 dimensions of life? Number 1, we're talking about the physical or the physiological and economic part of our lives. Let me say this: no matter how good you are, if you cannot take care of your physical responsibilities, all your goodness will be mocked, because it does not translate into what takes care of your everyday thing. As a matter of fact, there's a place in scripture that says that if a man cannot provide for those of his house, it's actually worse than somebody who has no faith. So that's why we're saying, number 1, it must deal with your physical or physiological and economic aspect. That's number 1. Number 2, the social and emotional side, which is how I relate with other people, what I am, both among friends, among relations, among the people I relate with from time to time. A mission statement should deal with that as well. Number 3, a mission should also deal with the mental aspect of our lives. For example, what kind of education do I need? What kind of things do I need to get equipped on? What do I need to know? A mission has to deal with that. And then the mission should also deal with the spiritual aspect of ourselves. Okay, so that covers virtually the distinct part of our lives, the 4 aspects of our lives. Okay, now let's talk about the 4 dimensions of a mission. It's captured in these 4 words. Number 1, to live. To live means my physical and economic needs and my well-being. What do I need to live? Number 2, to love. That talks about relationship with others. For example, that's why we say that, what would you want your grandchildren to say about you when you are 100 years old? What would you want your employees or employers to say about you? What do you want your colleague to say about you? The people you go with from time to time, your brothers, what do you want them to say about you? So this is covering all of that, your relationship with others, how we relate and deal with others with dignity, with respect, with kindness, how we value other people. That mission statement ought to encompass that. Number 3, to learn, which is how we educate ourselves, our experiences, the use of our talents, who we mentor and who mentors us. It ought to cover that. And of course, to leave a legacy, which is the spiritual need, the something that transcends life itself, that something that gives us a sense of meaning and mattering in life. Unless we do this, that's why people say that someone can be existing without actually living. This is just sort of buying time, passing time. And it's because things such as this are not taken care of. And when we talk about legacy, we're talking about what is our contribution, our value, the value that we add, the way we make a difference in the world. And again, the connection with the vital and the eternal part of our being, of our nature. These are things that we must indeed. Why are we saying all this? Look, we must be new leaders with a difference. I want you to take a look, make a journey quickly in your mind and look at every nation you can think of and begin to think about the leadership of those nations, or sometimes even the cooperation that we have. I begin to see that if we continue as we do now, our world will continue to be in trouble. Look at the religious environment as well, and just see that the world is crying out for a new kind of leadership. And our hope on this platform is that people from this platform, people who associate with us somehow, can become those new breed of leaders. And I know you are one of those. I know. That's why we're making this effort. So, in a nutshell, we're talking about to live, to love, to learn, and to leave a legacy. Those are 4 dimensions of a mission that we must take care of properly. Now, this man, Albert Schweitzer, made a statement, and he said, "I don't know what your destiny will be, but one thing I know, the only ones among you who will really be happy are those who have sought and found how to serve." We did say that true vision is about service to other people. So the thing that will eventually make us truly happy is serving the gifts, the potentials that we've been given, not for ourselves, but the people to whom they truly belong. Okay, there's another woman, Helen Keller. This woman, a very special woman. She wrote a book that I read nearly, I think, 20 years ago today. This time, Helen Keller, and he wrote a book which is titled "It Feels Good to Forgive." I would recommend that book to us as well. But hear what she said this time. She said, "Many persons have the wrong idea about what constitutes true happiness. It is not attained through self-gratification, but through fidelity to a worthy purpose, through commitment, through faithfulness to a worthy purpose." Now, we talk about other vital parts of our life. We talk about public life. And by that, we simply means what takes place in the community setting and how we interact with other people. We also talk about private lives, and that is actually our life away from the public in a close related unit. Sometimes it might be something that we do with our family. That's private. But then we talk about another one, which is our deep inner life. All of this thing that we're doing now about writing a mission statement is about taking a journey to that deep part of us that is not in the public, that's even not in the private area. It's something that is in the inner part. It's really a journey down to the soul. The most significant life where the heart is, the seat of motivation, thought, desires, and where we actually look at the problems that we intend to solve and the needs we intend to meet. So let's look at those. Now, we tap into the power of the 4 human endowments, which I mentioned earlier on, through the inner life. So the 4 items I mentioned earlier on, our real key, the key that unlocks that door, is through our inner life. And by that, we're talking about self-awareness. We're talking about our conscience. These are 4 human endowments that we need to pay attention to. Self-awareness, that is a sense of who we are, why we are, knowledge of ourselves. Conscience is another thing. Conscience, I'm a computer scientist, and each time we have a computer, there is always a place where we write instructions. It's called the hard disk. Now, there are some instructions which are written before the computer is given to you. They are called the operating system um, instructions. They are the things that the author, the manufacturer of that system, writes before it gives it to you. That is the conscience of the computer. The same way, when every child is born, in the child's hard disk, there are instructions which are written before that child is handed to the parents or to the public. That is the conscience of that child. Now, just like the computer, you can keep on adding to that hard disk. You can keep on educating that hard disk by the programs that you add to it. The same way, you can keep on educating the conscience of a child through the knowledge and interaction that it gets from parents, from school, and from the public. So that's the conscience. Conscience means the place where all the knowledge that you know come together. Imagination, beautiful gift, which is the ability to go into a future that you have not yet experienced. Imagination. And then independent will. That is the carrier into the place that we have imagined. Okay. Now we'll see all of this come together. So the development of a mission statement requires you to go into the deep inner life, your secret life. Which means, I'm going to read the story shortly. Like I said, I will bring this to life. It is the part where you determine the most fundamental issues of your life. At this time, I'm not talking about writing a corporate mission statement yet. I'm talking about writing the personal mission statement. And this is a journey to your own inner life, the one that is kept away from the eyes of everyone. And I'm saying it's the part where you determine the most fundamental issues of your own personal life. And that's why you read this from the ancient scriptures. So it's that guide your heart with all diligence, because out of that heart are the issues that control, that guide, that direct life. Now, most people never really go to their deep life, deep inner life, unless motivated by pain or external pressure. Most people, unless they are really forced to have a deep, they keep evading their lives, more or less. They keep finding as many things to preoccupy their mind, and that word is true, preoccupation. They keep kind of finding things. So it might be music, can put on music so that just to distract the mind from really going to that, because the mind is asking to go there, to the heart. But most people feed that off with a lot of activities, a lot of things, just a lot of noise to quieten, to shut down the voice of the deep inner life. But sometimes it takes pain or external pressure to make that strong call. Now, such people that are in that state, they are being lived and acted upon both privately and publicly. They are being lived and acted upon. Now, we don't belong there anymore. Now, hear what Mahatma Gandhi said. He said, a person cannot do right in one department of life whilst attempting to do wrong in another department. Why? Life is one indivisible whole. I cannot hate and love at the same time. I cannot cheat and be honest at the same time, because injustice to one is injustice to all. As a matter of fact, you know that they say that a leopard cannot really change its stripes, because when the leopard can't find animals to hunt down anymore, it must turn down on its own children. It must cannibalize. And that's true. Ask yourself, am I prepared to live my mission statement both in the private and in the public? Am I ready to stand for this? Now, developing a personal mission statement is actually profound and deep work. It's not something to be taken lightly or to be done casually. That's why I said that it might take a bit of time. So we must be ready to invest that time and be really patient. Give it a week, give it a month, give it 2 months, but it's something that we ought to do. So it will require coming to terms with every part of your nature. It will require coming to terms with every part of your nature. So, and you can see the things we said ab initio, which is, your public self, your private self, your deeper inner life, your conscience, your imagination, your independent will, your self-awareness. It's going to take everything, because we are talking about our very lives, and we don't want to have an imbalance to take care of one and at the expense of another. Okay. Now, this man, he actually went through that period in life when the Jewish people had a very terrible experience. And he wrote this statement. His name is Viktor Frankl, and he said, "The thing I learned is that you don't invent your mission, you detect it. You uncover it, as it were." So it's not something, that's why it's not an invention. All that we are saying is to get ourselves into a point where we can really, really detect it. Coming back to ourselves to detect it, not to invent it. Because if it's invented, well, time we find it out to be just a farce. Everyone has special and unique gifts, characteristics, talent, and endowment. But you need to work internally to detect what they are. Which is why, I like to say that we need an education back into ourselves. Most of the education we have is always education out of ourselves. So, regardless of who you are, you go and learn pharmaceutical studies. Well, that's going off to learn something external. The education that we need after all of that now is a re-education back into ourselves. A re-education back into ourselves. Okay, now I'm going to get to read this story now. It's a fairly long story, but I would like us to be a bit patient with me as I read it. The title is called "The Turn of the Tide." Okay, I'll read now. So one day, a man visited a doctor about his boredom. Something was wrong, and he could not identify the source. Right, he asked the doctor, who was also his friend, for a diagnosis. The doctor gathered information about the symptoms, made his diagnosis, and said to his friend, "Look, friend, I cannot find anything medically wrong with you, but I think I know what is wrong." Okay, so I've written out 4 prescriptions that I encourage you to take, but you have to follow these prescriptions carefully. Where was the favorite place you loved going as a child? That's the first question you asked him. And this man said, "Well, I love going to the beach." So now the doctor said, "Okay, you go to the beach again and take the first prescription at 9 in the morning. That is 9 a.m. The next by midday, that's in the noon. The next at 3 p.m. and the next at 6 o'clock. Sounds like a good prescription, doesn't it? So now the guy said, "Well, doctor, where is the medicine?" Because he was expecting something to kill his depression. So the man asked, "So just follow the prescription. You must be kidding." Okay, well, the doctor said, "Wait until you see my bill, then you know that I'm not kidding." Now he now said again, "When you go, you can't take anything with you. You cannot take anything with you. No radio, no reading materials, no books, no magazines." My question is, why did he say all that? These are voices that come into our soul. Whatever you hear in the radio, you have no input to that. It comes externally into us. Whatever is written in a book is an external thing that comes to us. And it's saying, eliminate all those external voices and noises. That's the key point I want us to note. And he said, just get with nature. Just be in tune with nature. Come back to yourself. Now, remember, the first prescription you have to take at 9 a.m. So the man arrives at the beach, walks down from his car, pulls out the first prescription, and reads just two words. And guess what it is? It says, listen carefully. Just two words, listen carefully. What could this possibly mean? Now, inwardly, it says, what can I listen to? Because don't forget, the precision is listen carefully. So he was asking himself, what can I listen to? I mean, I'm listening to everything right now, and I'm finished listening. And I have to do this for 3 hours? Okay. I can hear those birds. Now it's beginning to listen now. I can hear those birds. Yeah, okay, good. I haven't heard them, but I hear them now. The surf. I can hear the surf coming in. I can hear sand crabs if I listen really carefully. I can hear the wind blowing. I can hear the rustle in the weed. Isn't that interesting? The more I listen, the more I hear. I say that again. The more I listen, the more I hear. He starts to listen to himself, to slow down the frantic pace of his public life and his disenchanted private life. I guess a lot of people are in this situation where we are busy. We have a regular routine Monday through Friday, and we just go. We just, run the mill. We go on, and it goes on a frantic pace. We travel from city to city, from one point to another, across town, and life just seems to have this frantic pace about it. And somehow, deep inside, there is a sense of dissatisfaction. We can't wait for lunch. We can't wait for closing hour. We don't like Mondays. I read on now. So he said, in fact, after a period of listening, he begins to hear sounds below the sounds. Sounds he had never thought or heard before. After a period of time, it so quiets his spirit, it becomes almost euphoric. It becomes peaceful. He hasn't felt this way in a long time. He's getting deeper into his inner life. Don't forget that word again, the inner life. In fact, by noon, he is almost loath to take the second prescription because he has been so deeply peaceful and quiet and has enjoyed this first one. But, well, as agreed, he pulls out the second prescription at noon. So don't forget the first one. Listen carefully. Now, he's picked up the second prescription now. Now, this prescription contains 3 words. And it says, try reaching back. Let's say it together. Try reaching back. Now, that throws him. What could this mean? Try reaching back? Well, maybe I should start thinking about the past, he thinks. So, he starts to get into his memory. I remember after school what kind of excitement we had when we'd come into the beach. We'd be yelling, we were exultant, we were so happy. I remember coming down here with my brother. He becomes especially emotional and nostalgic when he thinks about his brother. Apparently, he lost his brother to the war. They just couldn't get enough of this freedom, this fresh air, this excitement. They would dance around and hug each other and so on. Now, he gets so enveloped in these memories of all the fun times he had on the beach with his family and his friends, and especially with his brother, that he is more loath than ever to move to the third prescription by 3 o'clock. Guess what is happening? He has journeyed deep into his inner life that contains memories and feelings that are so precious. Guess what this means now? That journey takes us into really looking at, as far back as we can, looking at everything that you have ever considered precious, everything that you've had. When it takes out the third prescription, it discovers it is the tough one, the core prescription. In a sense, the other 2 were preparation for this one. The third prescription takes him into his deep inner life with enormous force. Now, this contains 3 words, and it says, re-examine your motives. Re-examine your motives. Say, examine my motives for 3 hours. What is my center? What is my life about? What is my core? What is my mission? What is my vision? What is it that I am all about? This prescription, although difficult, makes him think deeply and he begins to observe a pattern. We are coming home now. He discovers that he has put at the center of his life himself and the fulfillment of his own needs. He is following a selfish pattern. Even his so-called service and selfless activities are selfish in that he wants to be known for them, to be seen, and his service to others is anything but anonymous. He discovers that his private life is different from his public life. He puts on that he is caring, but inwardly he could look and find a selfish motive that he is trying to serve within himself. He starts to become aware, self-awareness now, about his malaise, his boredom, his disease is of the spirit. The selfishness of his life is that his whole motive structure is improperly centered not on true service, on true contribution, but on self. He spends much of those 3 hours thinking through these realizations, reorganizing his life, reorienting and planting new motives, new desires that are more congruent with higher principles. He feels a great sense of creativity through this exercise. He starts to use his imagination instead of just living out his memory. He draws heavily on his conscience. When you live out of your memory, you focus on the past. When you live out of your imagination, you focus on your future. And guess what the last prescription is? It says, write your troubles on the sand. And guess what he did? He took a shell of a sand crab, wrote his trouble on the sand, just close enough to the shores, and he never looked back. What's the end of the story? The tide came in and erased what he wrote on the sand. Thus began a new life for this gentleman. And the bottom line is to note all that we're talking about, that you don't start to write a mission statement until you prepare to write it. And that preparation really takes a whole going through that prescription in a sense. I don't mean word for word, but it takes us to really take a journey privately. That's why we say get away from just maybe for a night or something and really just meet yourself. Imagination is the most precious gift of vision. It is a divine gift to take us into our future. So let your imagination loose and write down everything you see with the eyes of your mind. When you live out of your memory, you focus on the past. When you live out of your imagination, you focus on the future. That's why people who have learned to master this, they never use their mind for memory. They always write away on their notepad. Because the mind has a better work to do, which is to unleash it on imagination. Imagine a future that you intend to see. And this is a keyword, that what lies behind us is nothing compared to what lies within us and ahead of us. All that we have in our memories in our past are totally incomparable to what we have lying ahead of us and right inside of us. So I come back to this again. Look, if we talk about this every week, we wouldn't have done justice to it. So get away intentionally and allow yourself to think without interruption. You know, this brings it around the circle now. That was what that man did. getaway. It might just be just take a seat in your bedroom, walk around the house. If you have the luxury, go to the meadow, and just walk around. Take a walk and allow yourself to think without interruption. What are you about? You are about finding your true self, who you really are, especially in relation to God, where you come from, where you're going, what you are doing here. And all of this will help in writing your purpose statement. Write all that you can. It might be a whole page, but then work on making that whole page one statement. Work on making that one statement. Don't forget that a mission statement is a general statement of what you want to accomplish in your lifetime. So forget about the external opinions about you and allow yourself to think freely about the following things. What do I want to do with my life? I'm not asking about what other people want you to do. I'm saying, let somebody think you're selfish. That's okay for the moment. What do I want to do with my life? What am I really inspired to do? What would I want to do more than anything else, even if I'm not being paid for it? What do I love to do so much that I forget luxuries, necessities, food or sleep? And the objective here is to reach down to the depth, to the deep inner heart, deep inner self. What would I like my eulogy to say about me, or your eulogy to say about you? So, writing your personal mission statement now, and I think I'll begin to round up, is that ask yourself this kind of question. What would you want to be known for? What kind of service, let me put it that way, would you want to be known for by everyone around you, really? And what represents the deepest and best thing within me? What would fulfill my gifts and express my capacity to contribute to humanity? We are talking about every part of life. This has to be something that you work on personally. And I found out that people who do this sort of exercise, they are the people who truly contribute valuably to the society. Because personal leadership must precede corporate leadership. A personal mission statement must also precede a corporate mission statement. And the more you work on the personal one, the more you really are valuable externally. And those are the people that we call. And it so happens that maybe 1% of the population actually bother with this. The rest of the people are just satisfied with being acted upon. They want someone else to write the script and they just want to follow. As long as they have bread to eat, water to drink, clothes to wear, and a bed to lie on, they're just okay. But we are talking about leaders here. Leaders can never ever make that the objective of their lives. So definitely we're not talking about ourselves here as far as those kind of desires are concerned. So what integrates all my physical, mental, social, and spiritual needs? We'll come back to that again. What creates and reflects my principle-based values? What will fulfill all my roles in life? Family roles, professional roles, community roles, what I do in church, what I do in whatever other societal based activity. What do I want to do? What impact do I want to leave on my generation? Some people really don't want to be bothered with that. They think, look, that's too much trouble. But, well, that's why there will only ever be a few people who ever make it to that side of life. And where do I want to be years from now? All that you write, it will be, you can imagine that will be almost a page. But as you do that, begin to recraft it and summarize it in just one sentence. That becomes something that you go around with. You'll be wondering what mine is. Well, very simple. My job is to help people to discover their true significance and to educate their leadership potential through the original precepts. Simple, but I'm living that every day in every of my interaction, including here on the Executive Network. Now, it doesn't matter what else you ask me to do. If it doesn't fit into this, I'm going to politely decline. And as you do that, you begin to write your personal mission statement. We spoke a lot about this last week, and I will encourage you to look at the video on YouTube. It's posted there. So let's look at that as we now begin to really look at our personal vision statement. I wanted to focus today especially on the personal mission statement and what really contributes to getting it done. And you see that both a mission statement cannot truly exist until it comes together in the discovery of your purpose, and you begin to see that purpose in pictures. Ladies and gentlemen, I have many more slides to go through. Many more slides, but we must adjourn here. I think we have enough to think about. So begin to write those things, and they will become things that will be truly valuable to you all through life. So let's do this. We can. Let's make a difference. I encourage you to. And of course, like I always say, if you want to leave us comments, kindly do, so that we can look at what to do better, what to improve on, or maybe some other topics that you want to us to look at going forward. Or, which better still, if you have a burning idea in your heart that you want to share with us, let us know. We'll schedule a session where you can really talk to us. We want to also learn from you. Why? You are a leader. You are full of virtue, and the world needs to hear from you. God bless you, leaders, and hope to see you next time. But until that time, keep working on that mission statement, and we know that the world will begin to look for you because you have something that they need. God bless you. Have a good night, good afternoon, wherever you are, and see you next time.